Speaking of like
very easy to make
nostalgia and
money
like
off of.
liking the games that you play, I was actually having this conversation
say
with
that a lot.
Cosmic through like Twitch chatter messages. If we want to kind of continue this, you guys are
Yeah,
kind
go
of out
for
of
it.
the loop, but we can bring you up to speed. Basically, I've played about like halfway through Neva, which is made by Nomada Studios, which is the same people that made Gris, which is in my top 5 games of all time.
Yeah.
So naturally, I'm excited for the game. Also, if you all go to my Blue Sky, nastani.bisky.social, the worst, by the way, that's the biggest issue with Blue Sky is the .bisky.social. That shit's ass.
Yeah,
Change it
true.
immediately. We're not talking about that though. But I posted a really cool platforming clip.
It's
Game's
awesome.
lit.
Yeah.
But regardless, like he was basically asking me, are you planning on speedrunning the game? And I was like, well, if it changes my life, no. If not, maybe. Because I have this belief where I don't want to speedrun games that I like because I feel like it ruins, especially like games that I like to replay specifically. So like if I want to replay a game or I replay a game consistently, I don't really want to speedrun it unless the speedrun is drastically different or there's like no base movement tech. And so what I mean by that is I'm going to use 2 games for an example. Frights, I'm going to use, even though I've never played a game casually, but just follow me. Frights, you can hold the R button and charge, right? And so you can chain your charges together uninterruptedly and you can just dash and you can move through the game really, really quickly, right? I can never play Frights casually because I will just be doing movement tech the whole time because I just can't not do it. So like I can't really play the game casually and kind of like enjoy it in my opinion, just because like so much of the actual gameplay is not casual gameplay. Even though let's say I'm watching the cutscenes and doing all that stuff, for me, I'm just like, this kind of ruins the point of the casual gaming experience to me. But something like Sacred Stones, like it is so drastically different, and there's also no speed tech in the game that it's just like, well, I mean there is, but like there's not movement tech
Not
in
to
the
the
game.
same degree.
Yeah, like all you can do, like if you want to do speed tech, is just like enemy control glitch for fun. Like that's kind of like all you can really do, and only on like 4 maps. But you can play that game so
tech that
differently.
happens outside of the bounds of the game. It's like basically that.
Yeah,
it's
and
tech that happens outside of the bounds.
And basically, like the speedrun for Sacred Stones, you just spam Seth and Cormac, right? You just play basically one character the whole time. But like if you actually play a Fire Emblem game, you're playing with like basically like there's 20 to 30 characters, you choose about 10 of them to play with, so it just changes every single time. You can do different classes, there's so many, it's completely different game, right? Which is
There's
why
a
I was
randomizer
okay
for it too, so it's like
and so that's why I was fine with playing Sacred Stones, because I'm like, this is not gonna inhibit my casual playthrough. For example, like I casually played through Sacred Stones after my GDQ run just for fun, just because I like that game. Yeah. But the basically the thing that we were talking about is that Cosmic said that I was dumb for that, and that my opinion is weird. That's not really what he said, but I'm just teeing it up.
I was
like
gonna
that
say
so you can
I
watch.
didn't. Yeah, so I didn't say he was dumb. In my head, I thought it, but I didn't say it. So the thing is I said
a lot of people do that to me.
I said to him, Ow. I can't say that happens to me, but I do get the sentiment. Because, like, I mean, especially with the games that I play, I guess, a lot of the games that I play that are action games, you're using, like, a quarter of the moveset, usually. So when I play the games casually, I get to use, like, the whole thing, and I get to just do whatever I want. So let's take, for example, Devil May Cry, right? In that game, to do movement tech, there's basically nothing. You just kind of hold forward and you run through the game. Unless you're Dante and you just dash, like you just mash the dash button. But like if you wanted to do the cool stuff, like while you're playing casually, you can like, launch yourself into the air with an uppercut and then do a sword air dash and then, do a spike down into the ground or like all this other crap, right? That's just slower, but it looks cool. And that's what you can do when you play the game casually, or like the way that you combo enemies is very different. In a speed run versus versus how you would play the game just normally. So, and the other thing too is like shooters, for example, like in Resident Evil 4, if I were to ever speed run that game, it would be completely different to how I would engage with it casually, because you can stop to upgrade weapons or pick up money and all this other stuff in that game that you're just not going to bother with when you learn the speed run. So, and I also find it very fun to play a lot of those games differently, like on replays or whatever. So like if I were to play, Resident Evil 4, let's say, like over again, or let's say like Devil May Cry 2, like Devil May Cry 3, you can only carry 2 weapons at a time. You could decide, well, for this playthrough, I'm only going to use like these weapons once I get them, or I'm only going to use this style. And there's only one style that's ever used in Devil May Cry 3 speedrun. So
yeah,
fortunately, I'm a little gifted in that way.
Yeah,
you know, of running only games like that.
Yeah, and basically, like, I would say that is more similar to like a Sick or Stone style, where like you're not just using like a fucking like javelin the whole time. You're using all these different weapons. You can fight differently. And so that's why, like, I think I corrected it in your chat. I don't know if I read out the message or not. I was doing other things.
I don't remember. Yeah.
But I was like mainly like platformers. Like I feel like especially platformers specifically
you did mention that,
with movement tech, it's just like I don't see how like it doesn't ruin the experience because like you get so good at it that it's just like.
I will say unless the movement tech is the game, but that's in really rare like
Lunistis, for example,
or Lunistis, yeah, where it's just like. You just schmoove by nature of the existence of the game mechanics, right? So like Pseudo-Regalia, like you just cook because every upgrade that you get just lets you cook, right? That's just how the game works. Yeah. You know.
Which I would even argue even for like P letters that like I know he just said the game name, but I don't care. I would argue for P letters that it does ruin the casual experience though. Like if I played P letters, I would never be able to play that game again because I would just be too good at the game. Right?
Yeah.
I would be swagging out for fun, but I don't say
I think
like swagging out for fun is more speedrun than it is casual play, in my opinion. I don't know if that's
fair.
Thing.
I think there is a point where you just get good enough at a game that like even if you're not speedrunning, let's just say you play a game enough, right? There is a point where you get good enough that you do just break it. And
that's fair. Yeah.
You know, like let's take Resident Evil, for example, like the first game. Once you learn how to juke zombies, you don't have to use ammo very much anymore. Like you don't have to be scared of certain enemies. The tension of that game is completely gone once you learn how to like manage different camera angles in that game. Like it's a totally different game at that point, and all you need to do is just move through the levels. And like that's kind of how the speedrun works, but you can learn that stuff casually, and it just like even if you don't know what speedrunning is, like you can learn to back up from enemies' attacks and then just run past them. So it turns the entire dynamic of the game on its head. And once you play through the game enough, there you go. Like you just broke the game in half.
Because the more you play a game, the better you get at it.
Exactly.
And part of that initial casual experience is just getting better. You know, Dark Souls games are probably the same way, where it's like,
yeah, definitely.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Mino like. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not kidding. I don't like those games. Those games suck. Go ahead.
Damn. Well, you know,
fair enough. Cole, what do you think?
I don't like difficult games. That's just the TLDR, for my opinion, by the way, everyone. If I'm playing a single player game, I want to just fucking play the game.
You want to be coasting.
Because I do plenty of competitive. I play Smite. I used to speedrun. Surely I'll speedrun again. I just need to find a game. Anyway, go ahead.
You do just need to find a game, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just think I get where everybody's coming from. I just think every game that I've ever speedrun is because I like it. Dog Island, Unmasked, Fright.
That's how I am.
Games I want to run. It's like Rabbids Go Home. Like I grew up playing that and stuff like that. I guess I just make probably. I'm looking over my shelf right now of all these games that I said I've wanted to speedrun, and it's just not gonna happen. But yeah, so I've never really gotten that. I mean, I started speedrunning because I wanted to play Frights more, and I just didn't want to play through the game normally again. And then, like, I watched Mario Kart time trials a lot in high school, and I was like, well, what if there's speedrunning for Frights? And then I found Baz's Potato Can World Record, and I was like, oh, people speedrun this. And then that's how I got into it.
And they speedrun it and filming it on an iPhone too. That's what they.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like the games that I choose, especially even before I speedran, right? I would just replay games that I liked a lot anyway, just because I wanted to play them again.
Right.
Or it was like a case of, and this has definitely picked up more as I started speedrunning more, is like games that I didn't necessarily like, but I wanted to understand what made them tick more. or I wanted to understand like what could be abused in them, right? So what was it, for example?
What a word to use, but go ahead.
Abused.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Look, dude, what the cheese was. All right, we can use that. How do you grind the axe in these games? So,
every episode, there's like a 3-episode streak of saying that.
There's only one game that I've ever just been like, this is so bad I don't ever want to run it, which is Mind Jack, because there's nothing going on in that game, bro. Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. There you go. But like, I don't know. There's just something about like games where people go like, ugh, I don't want to touch that. That was like, eh. Or like
that game gives me the ick.
That game gives me the ick. Or isn't that game really bad? Haven't people told me that that's bad?
Yeah, Super Mario 64 is just a bad game.
I think there is something.
Now you're talking my language.
Yeah. There's something just deeply uncurious to me and damning about people that like go, oh, this game sucks, I don't want to play it. Like, and just, or they'll just like write it off in the same way that other people do, without forming their own opinion on it. So like, I just want to get in there and just break it in half. So, or just find out how to play it well and find out what there is to extrapolate from it.